Some secrets do not begin with desire. They begin with silence. Mine started quietly, in the spaces where conversations ended early and feelings were left unfinished. From the outside, my life looked steady. I had a partner, Adam, and a routine that suggested stability. We shared responsibilities, memories, and a home filled with familiar sounds. But familiarity slowly replaced closeness, and neither of us noticed when warmth turned into habit. Adam and I were not unhappy in obvious ways. We did not argue loudly or threaten to leave. Instead, we grew distant in small, forgettable moments. He stopped asking how my day truly felt. I stopped explaining. Our conversations became functional, centered on schedules and obligations. At night, we slept beside each other but carried separate thoughts into the dark. I told myself this was normal. Long relationships change, I believed. Passion fades, routines replace excitement, and emotional quiet becomes part of adulthood. I convinced myself that wanting more was unrealistic. That comfort was enough. That was when Daniel became noticeable. Daniel had always existed somewhere near my life. Not close enough to matter, not distant enough to ignore. He was familiar, calm, and observant. At first, there was nothing unusual about our interactions. We spoke casually, exchanged opinions, laughed at ordinary things. It felt harmless. What made Daniel different was attention. He listened fully, without distraction. He noticed when my voice changed. When I spoke, he responded thoughtfully instead of reflexively. He remembered things I mentioned once and never repeated. With him, I felt visible again. Being alone together happened naturally. A quiet room, a shared moment after others had left. Conversations stretched longer than intended. I never planned those moments, which made them easier to justify. Nothing inappropriate happened, I told myself. Nothing physical, nothing spoken aloud, yet something shifted. I began to feel lighter when Daniel was near. The air felt calmer, the silence easier to sit in. I noticed how quickly time passed during our conversations. When we parted, I sometimes felt disappointed, though I didn't understand why. I refused to name that feeling. Naming it would make it real, and I was not ready for that. So I ignored it. I smiled politely. I told myself I was overthinking. At home, Adam remained unchanged. Kind, predictable, distant in ways that felt unintentional. I didn't blame him. I didn't blame myself either. I simply adapted. But adaptation can become avoidance. I started thinking about Daniel at unexpected moments. Wondering how he would respond to things I no longer shared at home. Noticing how rarely Adam crossed my mind in the same way. I still believed I was loyal because I hadn't acted. Because nothing had crossed a visible line. What I didn't understand yet was that loyalty begins in the mind long before it is tested in action. The secret did not announce itself. It grew slowly, quietly, inside unspoken thoughts. And by the time I noticed it, it was already there. Once I became aware of the line, I stood close to it. Not crossing it, but no longer stepping away. I told myself that awareness was proof of control. That recognizing danger meant I would avoid it. But awareness alone does not stop desire from forming. My conversations with Daniel deepened. We spoke less about daily routines and more about feelings we rarely voiced elsewhere. Disappointments, missed opportunities, the quiet frustration of not being understood by the people closest to us. I noticed how easily honesty came with him. How carefully we avoided speaking about our partners. Silence between us grew heavier. Pauses lasted longer than necessary. Sometimes we would stop speaking altogether, letting the moment exist without explanation. Those silences felt intimate in ways words never could. I began to edit myself at home. I did not lie to Adam, but I omitted details. I spoke less. I withdrew emotionally without announcing it. At the same time, I became more aware of his presence, more sensitive to his tone. Guilt began to surface quietly. I told myself I was still in control. That emotional connection was not betrayal. That everyone needed someone who understood them. These thoughts felt reasonable, comforting even. They allowed me to stay exactly where I was. Daniel never pressured me. That made everything harder. He did not demand anything, did not ask questions he knew were dangerous. His restraint made the connection feel respectful, safe. That illusion kept the secret alive. There was a moment when we were completely alone. No interruptions. No distractions. Just the quiet awareness of everything we were avoiding. Nothing happened physically. Nothing needed to. The shift was internal, undeniable. I realized then that the secret was no longer hypothetical. It existed, not in actions, but in intention. In the way my heart responded before my mind could intervene. After that moment, everything felt different. I noticed how careful I became around others. How easily my attention returned to Daniel without effort. I felt a strange combination of excitement and dread. At home, Adam noticed something was off, though he couldn't name it. He asked if I was tired. If something was wrong. I said no. Each denial added weight to the silence between us. I tried to create distance from Daniel. I told myself it was necessary. I shortened conversations. I avoided eye contact. But emotional bonds do not disappear simply because they are inconvenient. The more I tried to suppress the connection, the more present it felt in my thoughts. The secret followed me everywhere, turning ordinary moments into reminders of what I was hiding. I understood then that pretending not to see the line did not erase it. It only made crossing it more likely. Living with a secret changes the way you exist in the world. I became hyper-aware of my words, my expressions, my timing. Every interaction felt layered, as though meaning hid beneath everything I said. Daniel and I existed in a fragile balance. We never spoke openly about what connected us, yet it shaped every moment we shared. Glances lingered. Conversations carried weight. We both understood the risk without naming it. The secrecy itself became part of the bond. Shared restraint. Mutual silence. It felt intimate and dangerous at the same time. I knew this was not something I could explain to anyone without exposing myself. At home, Adam remained trusting. His kindness felt undeserved. When he reached out emotionally, I felt the distance I had created. The realization hurt more than anger ever could have. Fear became constant. Fear of discovery. Fear of hurting someone who did not deserve it. Fear of losing control entirely. I told myself I could stop anytime, yet I never did. The hardest realization was understanding that the secret had changed me. I was no longer fully present anywhere. Part of me always existed elsewhere, guarding something hidden. Eventually, the strain became unbearable. Secrets demand resolution. Distance grew naturally between Daniel and me. Conversations shortened. Moments faded. There was no dramatic ending, no confrontation. The secret simply began to dissolve. When the connection faded, what remained was silence of a different kind. Not empty, but reflective. I was left alone with the understanding of what I had allowed to exist. The secret had not given me love. It had shown me absence. It revealed what was missing and what I risked losing. It forced me to confront myself honestly. Adam never knew. Daniel never spoke. The secret ended quietly, but its impact stayed. Some secrets begin when we are alone. And some lessons stay long after the secret is gone.